Commissioner Harrison?
Here.
Commissioner Tremaine?
Here.
Commissioner Platt?
Yes.
President Rich? Here. Yeah, everybody say pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I do have a printed agenda there for you. Unless you have it up on your.
I have it.
Okay.
Okay, so now we go on to the approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the April 17, 2025 minutes of the Personnel Finance Subcommittee meeting and the 17, 2025 minutes of the regular meeting of the Zion Park District Board of Commissioners as presented.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Hyde?
Aye.
President. And we're gonna go ahead and, actually, we have some guests. So you'd like to welcome our guests, and if anybody has anything they'd like to say, please feel free to stand up and do so. That's us. Nothing?
Beverly.
Beverly. Well, move on then to the approval of the agenda additions.
Yep, no changes to the agenda as stated.
Welcome, we'll keep on moving, for commissioners'
Oh, we
comments.
have to approve it.
That was Jesse and. Harrison?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. President. And, now we're gonna move on to the commissioners' comments.
I got a couple. I have people down to Springfield. That was a nice 2 days conference. I really enjoyed coming down for the day. Different directors, commissioners, the atmosphere. That was nice. I want to welcome Ken Mason to the board. I think he'd be a good guy for the board. I want to let you guys know Monday I went to China. There were 20 people playing pickleball that afternoon. Yeah.
Well, Jesse, thank you actually for going. It's good to know that you went and enjoyed it in Springfield. It's always good, a good experience out there, so much to learn, to meet, you know. So I'm glad that you went, and hopefully maybe make sure more of us can go and actually even get that experience under our belts and learn some of the other stuff. Now we're gonna actually, go on to the attorney's report from Ansel and Boone.
Yep, no report from the attorneys as well. No.
All right. Treasurer, financial report, cash position, monthly. Start with treasurer. Financial.
Yep, I have the monthly expenditures up there on the screen if you wanted to make a motion. Otherwise, what we covered in the finance committee.
Make a motion to approve the expenditures for April 2025 of 523,055.53.
Carson?
Aye. Aye.
Hi.
Ah. have our executive director. For that.
Yep. So I think we had a lot of good stuff in the director's report. A lot of good contributions from staff. There's a decent handful of things I wanted to touch on here. One of the things to start it off, as Jesse mentioned, we attended the IUPD Legislative Conference in Springfield. It's a really quick and efficient trip. We go down, get down to Springfield, 4-hour drive or so, check into the hotel, and then kind of just have enough time to get situated, make our way over to the legislative reception where we talk with a lot of legislators that are down in Springfield already for different sessions that they've got going on. Jesse and I were fortunate during the dinner to sit with our Senator, Mary Edney Allen. We also sat with representatives from the Lake County Forest Preserve. So it's just a nice, kind of informal setting to sit down and talk with them as opposed to going to them with a complaint or something you want or something like that. So it's a nice time to get to know, the different legislators and see a lot of different park districts. We did take the opportunity to request $250,000 be allocated in the state's budget for capital dollars for our district. And then I kind of, once we got back in our district, followed up by emailing additional detail on some of our budgeted projects that are coming up and how we would utilize the $250,000. And I did hear from the senator's staffers that, Senator Edney Allen did share our request with the Senate. And so they'll be, monitoring the state budget to see if that request actually does make it into the state budget. But, took our shot and hopefully, we will get that allocation. And then the next morning, obviously, we wake up and there's a lot of the educational sessions that are taught by IUPD staff, different people in the industry. There's always a panel of legislators, of senators and representatives, and they kind of give some tips on what's the best way to interact with your senator or your representative, how it's beneficial and important to establish a relationship with them so that you get to know them on a personal level and you're not just coming to them with a request, right? I've met Senator Edney Allen probably a dozen times and Joyce Mason more than that. So we do have a good, relationship, and I don't feel like the only time I talk to her is saying, hey, so there's a lot of strategy behind, advocacy and interacting with your legislators. So, obviously that trip's open to any member of the board that would love to attend next year. They kind of do it at the same time. It's always like end of April, beginning of May when Congress is in session down there because it's a good way to catch them. So that's one of the events, obviously, that's organized through IAPD.
About the request that you made for the $250,000. How unusual is it for our district to request that, and how much in line are we with other departments?
It's not unusual for a park district or a government entity, whether it's the city of Zion, to request it from Joyce Mason or whoever else, like, can you get this allocation in the budget for our district, for our town? The amounts, I suppose, could vary. I believe the city in a prior year asked for like $700,000 for support for the fire station, and I'm not positive, but I do think they got that allocation last year. So people's requests are going to vary, and it's just kind of, you don't want to ask for too much. You don't want to ask for $2 million because you might not get it, but you don't want to ask for too little because you may need more for your project. So,
Certain project you know specific.
yeah, they like to know. I mean, they like to know what they're asking for. So, I showed them some of the park projects that we have in our budget, and again, followed up with some details on that. And the legislators, right, they're going to prefer to have their name associated with a park. So, for example, Shiloh Playground, Joyce Mason, at the request of Maryland, probably 5 years ago, was allocated $400,000 for that. And so that's why we have the plaque honoring Joyce Mason at the base of the flagpole, and Joyce Mason was out because she did, request and get that allocation for $400,000. And so that's also to what legislators want to be associated with, right? I would say if we asked for $2 million for a maintenance building, the odds of that would probably be very slim, right? But when you're asking for reasonable dollar amounts, hopefully to develop it in parts. Yeah, right. So it's more of a art than a science thing. Let's see. So a couple things also that we handed out. You know, the design quarterly. I'm sure everyone probably just sees that out in the community, but this is the spring edition. If you haven't seen it yet. Yeah. So obviously some good articles in there. You can see some of the different recreation programs that we have in there that Christine and Kay will work on and work with the township to get our allocation of pages, promoting the summer concert series in both English and Spanish, and our fitness arena downstairs again both in English and Spanish, and we only have a certain number of pages allocated to us. Christine could probably talk to you about this all day as far as how the guide works and which different entities in the city get how many pages and things like that. But just wanted to be sure and share the spring guide with you. Um, Also, something else that we recently created, really good collaboration, I would say, between like our maintenance department, especially Mike Perler here, who's kind of silent. He's one of our maintenance staff members. And Christine and our recreation team. This Discover Your Parks, which is actually hopefully a really helpful and useful guide, for the community to just kind of realize where all of our properties are and what different amenities are at the different properties. It's basically, we started with that years ago, and now have it in this nice, kind of one-page full format, so that we can distribute it in our facilities and just hand it out to the public so they can see all the property.
Copies of it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you would like. Yeah. I mean, if you'd like more copies, for sure.
It's very nice.
Yeah, and I think it turned out really nice. Very easy to read. Regardless if it's an English speaker, Spanish speaker, you can see all the pictures of what different amenities are offered at the different park sites that we have. So, just want to share that with the board. What else? I have a lot. The Salem play area that was approved by the board in March, if you recall, that was the most recent playground update. That installation started today. They started demo and they're hoping to be done by end of day Monday. See what the weather is tomorrow, obviously. I think tomorrow they're hoping to use concrete for the footings, but you never know. But if you have a chance to drive by Salem play area, which is located just on the south side of Salem there, between like Salem Meats or Library and West Elementary School. Just a neat little 2 to 5 area. Yeah. Shiloh Park, the building there in the center of Shiloh Park, the board approved, that re-roof project in March. That also started today. Those guys made a ton of progress today. Mike was kind of keeping tabs on them. I guess I should mention Rich is out today. That's why he's not with us. He is on a family trip, so good for him. He said, "Is it okay if I miss the board meeting?" I said, "Absolutely," because Rich takes very little time off, if any, and he knows that he has a busy summer season coming up and a busy pool season coming up, so he uses this week as a good time to recharge his battery. But yeah, the Shiloh Park building roof is going on. That should be done probably by Monday or so.
By Monday, the latest. They were just finishing up ice shield, and they got 3/4 of the north side of the roof completed this afternoon before the rain came. So they're moving right along. Their projected goal to complete all the fascia and soffit was either late tomorrow evening or Monday by noon.
So that'd be nice. I mean, that building was in desperate need of a roof. Yeah,
Is that Shiloh's or
the maintenance building that has the bathrooms in it, kind of in the middle of the park. That building, yeah. Yeah.
Are we done putting these things? And
Yeah, it's gonna need garage doors.
Yeah,
It might need an entry door. Yeah, they're definitely rotted, and you know. Also wanted to talk about our senior resource day event that occurred in April on the 16th. I'm not sure. Jesse was definitely here for it. He saw we had a really nice turnout. I think we had over 50 vendors, Christine, and probably 60 vendors, and probably 200, maybe 300 senior citizens attend that. One of the other attachments in the email that I had sent the board was the senior resource guide that's handed out both in the community and on this day to show the seniors just a helpful guide of all the resources that are available to them. But a great turnout there. Joyce Mason, again, she was there. We did talk to Joyce. Just a couple pictures there that I have on the screen. Like I said, real nice turnout. Yeah, I mean, the attendance for that is great. The partnership with the township is strong. It's really beneficial. I think it's just a win for everybody.
And it's signed in Benton Township, which is nice. So we do tend to collaborate a lot with Benton Township. We have to be working with Benton
Obviously, in April, we had our Easter egg hunt. A couple pics there. The weather wasn't the greatest, but it was good enough to hold the Easter egg hunt. Drizzle early in the morning, and staff and volunteers were out there putting out how many eggs? 10,000? 10,000? Yeah, so we put out 10,000 eggs, free event for the community. Really an awesome turnout.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I highlight the photo that's on the top left. Those are all high school students from both campuses that volunteered for the National Honor Society. And one of the young ladies there actually coordinated the project for other students. The project coordinator for that, so it was just nice to see them turn out. They were here at 6 o'clock in the morning. So it all accounts for the students.
Yeah, putting out 10,000 eggs. Yeah, we had a nice donut truck there that was giving out free donuts and hot chocolate. It was a great event. Tough weather day, but it really didn't dampen. Another event during the month of April was the Kiwanis One Day Basketball Camp that was held on April 12th. Actually, a great turnout this year after kind of I don't know, lackluster turnout last year. I guess I'll say we had probably 12 or 15 last year. This year, I think we had 58. So a really great turnout. David Osborne, who is our director over at the Herman Park Center. He really takes charge on that day to lead the youth. He does a fantastic job with our basketball program. Obviously, Kay and Christine kind of help him plan and coordinate and work through everything to get him to that day. But, he did a fantastic job with that one-day basketball camp. We were really happy.
Most of those that attended are from your K through 7 age grades. Don't have an exact breakdown, but on average.
Also, just wanted to make the board aware of some improvements over at the Shiloh Center. Obviously, we painted the whole downstairs, kind of freshened up the paint down there, put new blinds on the windows downstairs, where we do a lot of the senior programming, special rec programming, have rentals down there. Christine again worked with her sign vendor to put some of our signage up here. You can see our branding, in the hallway going down the stairs, in the lower level east room, and then just kind of in the kitchen as you walk straight in through the door level. So just to kind of, put some cool little details in that building, which I think make it really nice and give it a nice, clean, updated look.
I've only gotten there for 3 minutes, but open to the regular hours during the week. house staff.
Yeah, so Teresa, I mean, you can't work on this, but Teresa actually does programming herself. So she's in direct service with the residents in the programs. So she has designated hours that are considered like open hours, where she might vent additional listener, but it's just not necessarily open regular business hours.
So,
Been in that facility.
It is a
Yeah.
wonderful facility, but Teresa single-handedly runs both of those programs. And like I said, indirect service with seniors and in special rec. So she is doing the program herself. She has assistance with camp in the summer, but outside of that, she is actually involved in programming with the seniors and the special rec. So if she's on a trip with them or she's doing a program with them, there is no other park district staff that resides at that facility outside of the summer.
So another one of the attachments that I did put in the email. So there was 3 attachments. One was obviously the board packet. The second one was this attachment, which is our 55 and over programs. So this is our senior programs that are offered this summer. So, just to make the board aware of some of the things that are offered, whether it's trips or, gaming, like Christine was saying. Again, that's attached
And
in,
so
in this month's.
all of those pages are created, coordinated, and oversaw by Teresa. As the one staff member that oversees all those programs.
Yeah, we used to have a senior coordinator that was Kevin Zaleski. Yeah, we used to have Kevin who did the seniors and Teresa did special rec. And then we just kind of consolidated that into one position.
several part-time people that drove it in. Mommy and me program.
Oh, really?
In the mommy. Sure, it was so positive. Yeah, there's a program that used to be at the end of the hall down here called Mommy and Me Watcher. Yeah, that's the two in, I don't know, I don't think that was Teresa. That was probably,
Deb Isaacs used to
Deb or
Melody
front desk. Yeah, she did our boards.
Yeah.
Paula.
Oh, Paula.
Yeah,
Paula.
Paula.
Kozlowski.
Kind of short.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, real friendly.
Yeah, my granddaughter school was there. She gave me a program.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not part of the Shiloh Center. We do run camp at Shiloh Center, upstairs. So we have 3 different camps plus the special needs camp that's run upstairs. It's only during the summer months.
I would go and
Lucky and Township.
like that.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason I'm saying is during paramedic was so many um, is there a possibility that we maybe we can make more use of that facility? Like I said, I would.
And that's the township. Yeah, that's the township.
But I think
I've been a whole bunch of those. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting, Ken, if you shared some of the programs, with some of those individuals and other seniors that you know in the community, and get some feedback on some of the things that we offer. see what they think. See, maybe like why would they go to Waukegan versus utilize our facilities, and if there's something that we can add or bring.
Yeah, without doubt. I'm sure.
And the Zion Township also offers a lot of programs. They do the backyard. They're a good resource.
Couple more things to touch on real quick. So Esther's Well, we have a new sign for it in case you've heard people talk about Esther's Well, but they may not know where it is. Just on the other side of the pool parking lot. Maintenance always does a great job, getting that going. If you haven't seen it, this spring it is going, and there'll be a group of volunteers that will be down there working on some of the landscaping and some of the plants and stuff like that around the area. So just a new sign at Esther's Well, and good job by our maintenance department to get it going. Touch on that later. One of the things I wanted to mention real quick on golf is, just the strong spring that we've been having at Shepherd's Crook. And some of the projects that they do as well. I thought Alan wrote a real nice report this year. You can see his revenue chart for the month of April. Obviously 2020 was COVID. We were trying to figure out what is not allowed, but just even when you're comparing like the pre-COVID numbers to the post-COVID numbers, I mean, we're typically in the 70s, 60s, and stuff like that. Now he's well into the triple digits or 6 digits, and I think he does a very good job. All the staff over there in the spring to price the course right for spring rates. So he has spring rates, kind of summer rates, fall rates. I think he's done a nice job of finding the sweet spot of spring rates, and then also having the maintenance staff make sure that the course, early in the spring is not in like an introductory kind of course, where a lot of courses will have their greens punched, right, and they'll have sand, and the greens just haven't grown in yet. I mean, Alan and Charlie do a really good job of making sure, like, if we're going to punch greens early in the spring, or even later in the fall sometimes, let's be sure that they're recovered. So our spring conditions are really good. Yeah.
When we look at numbers,
Yeah.
is there a way of understanding, obviously, it's large number of revenue, how many golfers that represents? Did we get there by increasing price? Or did we get there by increasing
So one of the interesting data points that he calculates is this chart. So if you haven't really spent time kind of looking at Alan's chart, he kind of has a scientific method here. So his GPH is golf playable hours. Because another thing, Dave, a third factor in your equation there is going to be weather, right? So it's going to be a combination of increasing price and increasing play. And obviously the play is also going to be factored by the weather. So, you can't really look at 2022 and say like, oh, management failed in that year. They just didn't do a good job, right? Because that could have just been a really poor April for weather. Could have been really wet, and that's the main driver as to why revenue was half of what it was in prior years. But the golf playable hours he calculates, and I can't remember his exact metric of it has to be so many degrees with X amount of wind and all that kind of stuff. So he tracks golf playable hours, and then he tracks Shepherd's Crook rounds played, right? And then he tracks the golf fee revenue. So this is going to obviously exclude food and beverage. And then he gets like an average revenue per round. And that is typically going to be due to price increases and rates. That really kind of does get you to like an apples to apples. Like what's he on average getting per round? So in 2023 he was getting about $37, and now here in 2025 he's getting almost $45.
does that really tell me if we're increasing the amount of golfers?
Well, this one here, the second row is rounds played. So if you look at, for example, kind of interesting, 2025 and 2023 have the exact same number of rounds played, 2,185. But the revenue difference in those 2 years is 17,000, right, from the 82 to the 98. And so exact same rounds played, the difference that drove the revenue there is just the difference in price. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not an exact science, but there's a lot of
that's one
factors.
thing what I was seeing.
Yeah.
I would like to ask though, is there a way to find out how many golfers do we have that are female and male? Because lately I've been hearing from the ladies that the Shepherd's Good golf course is a little bit challenging. And so I'm just wondering.
You're hearing that from the ladies? You're hearing that from the ladies?
They think it was designed to exclude, but no, it's not that. It's a little challenging for them.
To be honest, my first thought would be that I don't know that we collect like any way the players sex, right? It's just especially when they're booking a foursome, we might not even know. The one guy might just book it for you. You know, is Shepherd's Crook? Can it be a challenging course? Yeah, it's a challenging course. Maybe they might want to start at a Shiloh or something like that. But Shepherd's Crook, honestly, is a pretty wide open course. Um, Difficulty level is obviously going to vary just by player, right?
Yeah. In terms of the difficulty level, where do we stand on the difficulty level in the state, though? I mean, because I'm not an avid golfer, so I really couldn't say whether it was challenging or not. But I'm not an avid golfer. Like I told you, we have the little Lambs play area
Yeah.
for the people that don't golf as well yet, and we also have, like I said, shallows. So I was just
Yeah, one of the things though for ladies is they are starting up, and I was going to try to get to my flyer. They're starting a putting league for ladies only putting league. Going to be starting this year. I think Cheryl's going to be playing in it. So our new expanded short game area. Actually, former executive director Marilyn Krieger she kind of took the initiative to say, "Hey, I want to start a putting league just for ladies out there." So they I think have just finished their flyer. I'm sorry, at Shepherd's. At Shepherd's, on the putting green. Do you have a flyer, Brennan?
Well, that can answer my next question, but we look at doing some special board, like what is it?
Yeah.
More, but it sounds like already.
Yeah.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
can you go up to round three
Yeah.
on the left, please?
Oh, up, Jess, or here?
No,
Or here?
you're telling me that you was the most playable league you played
Which year?
this year.
Where at? For Shepherd's Crook?
Yeah.
No, because if you look at 2021, we had
Oh,
2,483.
wait. I'm
So,
sorry.
but also real quick on that one, look at the difference in the playable hours. Look how much better the weather was in April of 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep reminding myself that's only April. You know, so, and weather's a big
Yeah. Yeah. It's soggy.
That's probably the in round play. That golf course.
Yes.
Yeah, Alan does have a nice review in here. This is one of the things that he tracks frequently, and he got a couple nice reviews recently that I asked him to put in his next month's report. But you can see here out of 104 reviews, they all recommend it. It's 104 out of 104 for recommendation, and it's a 4.8 rating. So, you know, this is the biggest golf website. This is the Golf Now website, where players will do research on where they want to play.
If you guys play in this area, if they stop, I had some guys come in to Shiloh. They sit had heard showers at the bush all night, golf course, and it was just long enough to get him warmed up so that they could go play football. These guys had drove up from South Indiana to play football. But they had heard about Shiloh. That's cool. So they came over to Shiloh to get there. Instead of going to the driving range, they came and played Shiloh. Then went to play.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's the kind of, that's how
Was that
Alan,
this? Was that this season?
no, it wasn't this time. But that's the kind of work that Alan and that coach
Yeah.
are doing with it.
Yeah. I mean, here's just a quick example in his report too of like a project that they did. So this is the 18 fairway and one of the extensions on 18 fairway. You can see really the dramatic like impact that it makes. Kind of the before and after. It's really, it's really cool. I mean, this before was really kind of like a wasteland. The fairway just kind of ended right here. And so now they've kind of, like it says, extended the fairway, kind of made it more fun. You can get to there, your ball rolls down, a little bit extra yardage on your shot. They did that all in-house. This is a shot real quick of the perimeter fence installed around the Ebenezer lot. That's going to be the future home of the maintenance building. Again, the board approved this. This was the fence the board approved in February or March. I think I have wrote March, but it may have been February or March meeting. This turned out really nicely. If you recall in the quote from Kamosi when we were looking at some of the different stuff, and I don't know if maybe Dave or someone asked a question, well, what's this little line item and that one? One of them in there was contingency, $10,000, just in case whatever they did, we found something that was more difficult. They didn't use any of the contingency, so the quote actually came in $10,000 less than what the board approved. So yeah, that was great, and it turned out.
Any idea yet how much the building's gonna cost?
If I had to guess right now, I'd say $5 million. Yeah. But so our strategy is we have to continue to pay down our outstanding bonds that we issued for the renovations of Shiloh and David Park. Pay those down a little bit more to free up some debt capacity so that we can issue. Yeah. Just a nice shot of the plantings here.
Can you go back to the first one question? Did you do come to you?
I received an email from the city administrator because if you all are aware, Dungeon and Doom, this used to be the city's property, right? Start there, and then the city gave it to us. The city had an agreement with Dungeon and Doom, which is located like over here, kind of in the left corner, the what do you call that place? Haunted house.
Yeah.
So they used to park all their cars here in their agreement with the city. The agreement with the city ended in 2024, December, which is why we started moving more on the fence in 2025. Actually, they asked us to hold off on not fencing it in 2024, both the public works director and the city administrator. And I got an email the other day from the city administrator that said, would you, something about the effect of, would you want to sit down with Dungeon and Doom and talk about the lot on Ebenezer? So, this is something obviously I would bring to the board if we wanted to consider, I don't know, renting it to them for parking at Halloween time. I probably would not be in favor of that, just from the liability aspects of.
Let's say, it's a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I just replied back to him, sure, if you want to sit down and talk about it. Never replied back to him. They're not in a hurry until beginning of October, but I'll let you know if they, because otherwise they're scrambling. There's really there's nowhere for them to park cars. Otherwise, this lot here on the south side is all wooded. The city does own that as well on the south side. You can see the tower, like the cell tower. I I heard the city administrator was saying that he was either going to sell them Dungeon of Doom that lot, or the city was going to clear that lot and let Dungeon of Doom park out. I'm unsure right now what's going to happen with Dungeon of Doom parking as well. So just finishing up here real quick. I wanted to touch on a couple grants, and our arborist, our in-house arborist, who's in attendance today, Mike Priller, was instrumental in getting these tree grants from um, the different agencies. He's been working on them for a while, and when we were initially allocated like a couple of them, some of that uncertainty at the federal level paused it, and they said, okay, just hold off on your grant. We're not sure if those funds are going to come or not because of the uncertainty at the federal level. But then ultimately, he did hear within the last couple weeks that we have been awarded an $8,900 grant from the state of Illinois. That's for trees inventory. That's where they will go out and inventory some trees throughout Shiloh Park and come up with a like a maintenance plan for us. Another one was a tree planting grant through Lake County. Um, so again, the first one was through the organization Trees Forever and Illinois Department of Natural Resources. The second one is a $60,000 grant, so definitely significant grant dollars to allow us to plant trees throughout our parks. And this one specifically, the project area that Mike submitted was behind the leisure center here, kind of directly behind it in the creek line and along that trail that goes to and then another one was a $12,000 grant from the state of Illinois. This one is the only one that requires a 50% match, so I believe we have to put in $6,000 into this project to get $12,000 back for 57 trees. And these other ones do not require any match. And honestly, and here's one of the award letters that says, congratulations on your award. And again, Mike is a certified arborist. He does an awesome job for us out in parks, assessing trees and just helping manage and maintain everything that we have. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for Mike on some of these grants. I mean, I told him, congratulations many times on getting these dollars for us to utilize. Continue our conservancy.
Yeah, if there are no questions, I'm already just more detail. But thank you for your offer.
Yeah.
With a goal, number of trees every year, as replacement, or
More replacement. Unfortunately, there was a large amount of oak that had to come down in Shiloh Park from disease. So I think last winter we removed 32. Red oak, white oak, and some bur oak in there. So we are trying to start reforesting Shiloh Park with oaks. It is one of the largest oak stands in Illinois that remains. That was native. So we're trying to reincorporate those. And there obviously will take many years to be the same diameter and height as the ones we took down, but every tree we plant in there is beneficial. We do want to say an average of like 30 trees that we used to try to budget to do. But now that this Trees Forever grant, this will be a yearly grant through the Inflation Reduction Act. They have at least 4 more years with it, so I'm going to be applying for that every year. So we can get trees on it. This one will $12,000 grant that we have will give us 57 trees. We're going to do Shiloh Park and then 9 other smaller parks. We're going to add some canopy to it. And then, like Eric had said before, the one behind the leisure center, we're putting in a bunch of white swamp oaks. Right behind the building, when it rains, it floods. And they're very water tolerant, and they take in 3 times their diameter in water when it rains. So we're going to use that, and then we're adding canopy along the trail through sports leagues. So short answer to your question, we want to average at least 30 trees a year.
how many problem, how many make it, past birth and into adulthood? I mean, is there any concern about that, or pretty much when you plan, obviously you maintain them and all 30 should do their thing, right?
We get about, I don't know, on 30, maybe we get 5 that don't make it from, it could be a disease that came from the tree, and then a lot of times we can contact the nursery, and they will either credit us or give us a new tree, and then we'll replant it. We just won't put it in the same spot because it could have been, a mite in the soil or something. So we try to relocate it. But on average, we lose maybe 5. But we try to get those back. It's a pretty good success rate. We'll have a good success rate. This year we're going to have, we bought some gator bags, so we'll fill those up so they'll self water.
Would there be any value to the tree diapers?
You have the gator bag is similar to the diaper.
Okay.
The diaper is basically made out of diaper material that holds water longer. On there, the gator bags are green bags that literally sit on top of the mulch, and as the mulch dries out, water seeps into it. So they're a little bit cheaper than the diaper. The diaper for the tree caliper trees we're going to go is about $38 to $42 a piece, where a gator bag is $8.
So just a couple other things. We move on to the business items. Sorry, this is a long one. I did text everyone earlier about the mayor's luncheon, so please let me know if you're interested in attending the mayor's luncheon. Doug, okay, Doug and Jesse said yes before the meeting that he'd like to go. So happy to coordinate that for any commissioner that would like to attend. If you could just let us know before the date that's coming up. Okay.
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll be using that night.
So we'll register everyone for it, all 5. That sounds great. Another opportunity and one that I would recommend here is IAP's boot camp. Dave can probably talk about it pretty well because he went to it. I think it was 2 years ago. Both Dave and Bill went to it when Dave was newly elected to the board. So it's a 3-hour, what they call a boot camp, and I printed for you. Doug's looking at it there. The packet of information in relation to it, and it's for essentially board members, particularly new board members, to give them an idea of what it's like and some of the expectations of a board member. Again, yeah.
I've been involved in a number of different private board meetings, groups, and this information is what happens most to us on state law level and federal law. And it really depends on speakers. Some speakers get up there and it's kind of a boring, 30 minutes. To give you when I would maybe take a small sales time. But some of the speakers are really good.
Yeah.
They talk about certain action items, what occur, but not just to say, well, this is the law, penalties. They kind of bring it out to a personal level. If you're a board member, you have to talk about this, and you're not responsible.
I mean, yeah.
Doesn't bother the But so I said, it's overall good. It's even good as a refresher. So even if you
Yeah.
once, it's good to every maybe yearly or the other year. You can all do it.
On the top, on the first sheet,
Yeah.
others, is that
There.
just the closest one?
Yeah, I just kind of clipped the 2 closest ones. Obviously, Zoom is probably the most convenient option.
Right.
Then the next one, which is actually coming up pretty soon, is May 20th at Deerfield Park District. The other ones, Doug, that you mentioned are pretty far away. So I'm actually thinking that I'm going to attend the May 20th at Deerfield because I haven't gone to this. And I remember Dave and Bill saying how good it was. So I would like to hear what's said. The other benefit is it does give new board members, it meets your OMA requirement. So as a new board member, OMA is the Open Meetings Act. You have to show that you've taken a training to comply with being up to speed and knowledgeable of the Open Meetings Act. all of our meetings are public meetings, and there's like there's procedures and rules. Like if the four of you were to meet and talk about Park District business, in a restaurant or something like that, that's kind of actually technically part of it.
Right. There's a line that I did now when you're discussing the direction of the park board, what we're gonna get a playground area or improve the golf course. That's part of business.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get together to talk about the way we handle the board, how we do that without, not being more of a effective board.
Yeah.
What do we want to do? Do we want to go downstate more meetings? That's not really part of the information. So those kind of discussions we could have. We just have to be careful with the time. So we talk about our grandkids.
Yeah, you can do that. So I actually gave Dave his certificate that you got a few years ago.
Right.
Your package. There's so everyone will get that kind of like certificate of completion, which also shows that he met his OMA requirement for the training.
Last year we talked about this year I was going to do it. May 20th, I only had two things to finish on. I would do two things. So I wouldn't have to do that one, but I guess I'd like to see the distances to the others.
Yeah. So all that information, if you want to just go through it, let me know. Happy to get you registered. Like I said,
if you can't make it in person, definitely the Zoom one. I think you just think it's knowledge. And then some speakers just use the same list.
Zoom, will you guys give me a sandwich?
Absolutely.
Well, people send you DoorDash. How about that? Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. But please let me know. Happy to register you for Deerfield. I mean, it's the closest one, but I don't know what's Deerfield taking. 45 minutes. 45 minutes, David? I mean, especially if you're going at night and then coming home at. I mean, it's 6 to 9. The Zoom option is also 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. But yeah, 6 Probably Mike.
Probably might won't.
Okay, I'll register you, Justin.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on Tuesday, May 20th.
Make it free because I was going there.
You want us to register you?
Yeah, I
That
didn't
was girl.
register. It's been such a long thing. Bill looked at me too. Bill's been
Yeah.
so.
Unless you can get it.
Yeah, you want me to register you?
Report it.
Okay, so the four of us will plan on going to Deerfield.
Next.
Next week. That's Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Doug, I guess if you want to let me know if you were able to make the Zoom, I'm happy to register you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'd rather do it in person than a Zoom guy.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing before we get to the new business portion, which again, sorry it's taking so long. We do have a pending change order for David Park. I wanted to at least mention this to the board now. I don't have a lot of information on it, but I thought, in the spirit of full disclosure, expect to see most likely an email for an approval of what will be a soil import. So we need to import dirt into David Park to cover the soccer field. I don't have the exact quantities yet of cubic yards that we're going to need or the exact price. We are trying to find alternate options from what our contractor is proposing to us, which is high. So, and then we're also working with our landscape architect to try to zero in, exactly how much quantity do we need, and why do we need it. We do know we need some of it because we changed some grades out there. Some of the grades are different. They softened them, and but we don't think, what he's telling us as far as how much soil we need, we're questioning. And we're also trying to find a different source because soil import also was not in the original bid because it was supposed to be a balanced site. So everything that they strip off or move around was supposed to just kind of go back in the site. So there's no bid for soil. So we don't have to use him for soil. So we can coordinate our own trucking and soil location. So I'm just giving you that heads up now. Like I said, I don't have a lot of the details, but when I get them, I will put them in the email. My plan is to have Scott come to our next meeting in June and give an update on kind of like the current status, current construction of David Park. I think it'll be helpful for Ken. And there have been, things are starting to happen now with the weather.
We've been looking at that south.
Yes, Scott and I have been working on that, actually. I mean, honestly, our contractor quote is over 300,000, and we think we can cut it. Yeah. So, just round numbers, general numbers right now. I just wanted to give you that heads up, though. I didn't want to send you an email like next week. I mentioned that 3 days ago. So that's it for my report.
Any questions about the report? I'm gonna move on to our new business. That's really, really good.
Yep.
And of our board members, Carlson and Kim Mason.
Okay, I am ready.
No. I have. Gotta go to the front of the room.
I want my top right, but I got surgery. Yeah, thank you.
Make sure it's right. Like, I don't have anything background.
Okay. Right there. Oh, no, right there. So that's Christine. You can take a picture.
All right.
I can take a shirt.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your
Doug Carlson,
have been elected to the office of Park Commissioner
have been elected to the office of Park Commissioner
of the Zion Park District
of the Zion Park District
in the city of Zion,
in the city of Zion,
in the county of Lake.
County of Lake.
Do solemnly affirm that I will support
Solemnly affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Park Commissioner
of the office of Park Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Wasn't sorry.
Going back to. I hope it's gonna be as strenuous.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state
I, Kenneth Mason,
have been elected to the office of Park Commissioner
Park Commissioner
of the Zion Park District
Park District
in the city of Zion,
in the city of Zion,
in the county of Lake.
in the county of Lake,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support
do solemnly affirm that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Park Commissioner
of the office of Park Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Thank you. If you want to, can we get a, I'd like to get a picture with both of our newly elected commissioners to post it on Facebook and congratulate them.
That means you gotta go sit down.
Put white money here.
Or do we want to go there? Yeah, that'd be a good shot.
That was for Lisa.
Tell me if you could.
I got it. You can do it on the other picture.
You got the memo, I didn't. Great.
Got it, good shot. Congratulations.
Hey guys, this is
Yeah, it's very similar to you. Okay, so moving right along here. Um, now we've had our commissioners sworn in. We're gonna move on to the election of board officers for the fiscal year of 2025 to 26. We have the appointments and designation of our committee dates. So we're actually just gonna start with the, I guess, the election.
Number 10? Yeah. So I will start off by call for a nomination for the office of president.
And nominate Dave.
Any further nominations for president? Can I get a motion to close the nominations for president? Nominations for president are closed. All in favor of electing Commissioner Vermain to the office of president for a one-year term, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I declare by unanimous vote Commissioner Vermain elected to the office of president for a one-year term. Can I call for nominations for office of vice president? Any further nominations for vice president?
I'll nominate myself for voting.
nominated.
Okay. Can I get a motion to close the nominations for vice president? Nominations for vice president are closed. All in favor of, and we'll call a vote, all in favor of electing Commissioner Carlson to the office of vice president, say aye. Any opposed? All in favor of electing Commissioner Rivers to the office of vice president, say aye. Okay. Any opposed? I declare by 3-2 vote.
Yeah. I can't read.
I counted for Doug, you and Jesse.
Okay, well then.
Yeah. And then I counted for Carolyn. Yeah. So I declare by a 3-2 vote, Commissioner Rivers elected to the office of vice president for a one-year term. Call for nominations for the office of treasurer. Any further nominations for treasurer? Can I get a motion to close the nominations for treasurer? Nominations for treasurer are closed. All in favor of electing Commissioner Pye to the office of treasurer, say aye. Any opposed? I declare by unanimous vote Commissioner Pye elected to the office of treasurer for a one-year term. Congratulations.
Okay, now right along.
So I think, so typically on this one, so then Dave usually, the president then usually takes over. Do you want to finish? Okay. Okay. That works for me.
What, finish up the meeting? Yeah, sure, I can finish up the meeting, unless you wanted to.
No.
Okay. Alrighty then, let's see, the number 11, we're gonna have the appointment of the other stuff, and I guess we already actually appointed under the attorney, it was Anthony Link, Director Bradley, Secretary and Assistant Treasurer, Eric Bradley, Assistant Secretary, Kate Peterson, FOI and OMA officers, Eric Bradley and Kristen Bergman. Are we voting on that?
We would just need
Motion?
a motion to accept those appointments again, because we're starting the new fiscal year. This is kind of like our typical housekeeping.
Vote.
I know some of those.
Commissioner Carlson?
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Mason? President, or Commissioner Hyde?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Commissioner Rivers? Oh, they're on number 12. Okay, then, designation of regular board and committee meeting dates. We have a list of those included in our packet for the upcoming year. We just need a motion to approve those upcoming dates.
This follows with our standard schedule of Thursday evening, 7 p.m. I will just note that the January 22nd meeting would be the fourth Thursday in January. And the only reason I proposed that was because January starts on a Thursday, so that's a real quick turnaround. And I was thinking, kind of coming out of the holidays and stuff like that, it might be helpful for staff and maybe the board to just bump that back.
It's not like this one.
This one was a quick turnaround because this one started on a Thursday, so it was a quick turnaround. Yeah. Yeah, Jess.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like,
Okay. No, we can change it. If, for example, we set this schedule and our board members have a conflict that comes up later in the year. Um,
Find that in
yeah, Jess, we can approve this for now, and if it's January, we got time.
no, no, like, I thought it was like the 20, usually conference stuff was good.
Yeah. But like Doug and David said, if we have a conflict as we get closer to any of these dates, we can.
I get that.
make a motion for the designation of regular board and committee meeting dates, times, and locations.
Thank you.
Carlson?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we're moving to number 13. Designation of depositories for the district funds.
Yeah, just we'll comment here that I don't think we have any changes to our list from last year. To be honest, we are only utilizing Old National Bank, which houses our main operating account, payroll account, checking account, Old National, which we've used for decades, and then IPTLAP, which is the Illinois Park District Liquid Asset Fund. That's one of our two money market / investment funds. And then the other one is Wintrust Community Banks, which is kind of our second money market / investment fund. We invest in the Max Safe product. Both of those are highly liquid, very secure investments. Those are the financial institutions that, so I'm not proposing any changes. This is just again another kind of beginning of fiscal year housekeeping items. We do put on a couple extras just in case for some reason we had a need, if something were to happen, with Old National, and we had to make a quick change to PNC or Fifth Third. It just gives us a little flexibility. Not that we anticipate opening any new accounts with those other institutions.
You need a motion? So I make a motion, we accept the resolution of the depositories as presented.
Carlson?
Aye.
Aye.
Budget and appropriation ordinance number 919, open for public inspection.
Yeah, so just some comments on that. So the process, as part of the whole budget process, right? Staff will start on it in the winter, December, January, right? And then we have our budget meetings with the board, our budget session meetings, which we had in like March-ish. And then the board approves those budgets, whether you request changes or don't request changes. And then we use that operating budget document, which is what goes into the treasurer's report. And then we have to create this budget and appropriation ordinance, which is a legal document that we have to file with Lake County. So the budget and appropriation ordinance is in a specific format. All of these sections and the verbiage and it details each fund and what the expenditures are going to be more in a summarized version, I would say, than the detail that we have in the treasurer's report. And so the first step is to put the budget and appropriation ordinance on file for public inspection, which is what we would do tonight. And then it has to be on file for public inspection for 30 days before the board can approve it. So there are 30 days between our May meeting and our June meeting. So at our June meeting, we will first have a hearing for anyone from the public that wanted to come in and make comments to the board on the budget that's been available for 30 days for them to review. And then after that hearing, the board can make a motion to approve the budget and appropriation ordinance. Then it would get filed with Lake County. And then we're kind of starting our fiscal year.
An opportunity.
You can, there doesn't have to be. So you are allowed to have, so the first legal requirement is it has to be on file for public inspection. So, in this situation, we meet that. If it wasn't, if there was only 28 days before the next meeting, we would just hold off till July. And then have all of those in July. But you can have the public hearing for comment and the adoption of the ordinance in the same meeting.
But doesn't give the public comment on a portion of doesn't mean we have to accept that. Change it.
It's a process again, right? It's pretty rare, I would think, that one or two comments would have the board object into all.
Oh, no, you can just simply say thank you for your feedback. We're now going to vote on it. Yeah. We'll take into consideration for next year or whatever.
No one came up and said this is good. No one.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the legal process, and then we obviously have documented in the board minutes and everything.
This doesn't require.
It does require a motion to put it on file for public inspection.
So I will do the motion.
I'll make a motion that we place the document for budget appropriate for this 19 vote with the public inspection for 30 days.
Second?
Carlson?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approve to bid, repaid leisure center service drive and park service.
Yeah, so if you look at the picture up there on the screen, which all this information is also in your packet, that is the proposed area to be repaid. It's something that we, have wanted to do for a while. It's a significant amount. We did get 2 bids in. Mike has obviously been meeting with contractors over the last probably 6 weeks or so to just kind of walk them through and get a general idea of where bids may come in at. So, based on kind of his initial feedback with contractors and walking with them out there, we budgeted $140,000 for this work, and we were pleased that the low bid came in from Patriot Maintenance at $139,000. What?
Quite a difference.
Yeah, we only got 2 bids.
189.
Yeah, that was from, I think it was Two Brothers. So
How do we split the area?
Huh?
How do we split it?
we selected the area based on
What happens to the rest of the park?
yeah. So this lower lot here, this lower circle, we did about a year and a half ago. So that pavement on the lower
Yeah,
circle
so-
is in really good shape. This area, as you go to the west, this first, like maybe call it a quarter or a third of the lot, there's a seam right there. So if you go out and look, there's a seam here. This area has been repaved, well, more recently than this area. I don't know, Mike, what, 10 years ago or so? This is probably 10 years ago or so in here. This area in here wasn't repaved, but it doesn't have the significant damage and cracking and everything that you would see through here. There has been kind of some significant long patches that have been in here. This area probably, well, it definitely does not get as much use as the area in orange, where a lot of people that are coming into the facility will either park in front on the circle here and enter through the front, or park on the lower level, and once that gets full, they'll start to park in here. And so this was just kind of a, I guess I'll say like just kind of like a natural seam from the last time we paved here. And this is kind of the most significant use and the most significant cracking. And then the service drive here going down, which probably just scroll up. I mean, it's that service lot over there gets used frequently, you know, for our concert and festival area.
I was wondering why we would do this parking lot, but it's not
Yeah, and
needful right now.
well, we just wanted to try to stretch our budget on some other things, maybe that were a higher priority. I mean, paving has really gotten expensive, and you know, potentially maybe next year or the following year we would pave. Would be my thoughts.
So this
Right?
is resurfacing. This is repaving. Is that how far down do you go?
What?
Like that? Is it-
I think they're gonna mill off the top. Oh no, this one's a complete tear out.
So this is a complete tear out.
Yeah.
The lower service drive.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
The lower service drive, which is right here, there's no base underneath it. It's right on clay. So we have to dig that out. We're going to dig down at least 6 inches and put at least 6 inches of fill in there, of grade gravel in there to pack it up. Then we're going to do a 3-inch binder and then a 3-inch layer of finished asphalt. So it'll be a total of 6 inches of asphalt and then 6 inches of base underneath it.
Would you anticipate how many years you think this would last? I mean, obviously, it's not guaranteed. Going down that far like that, you should have some years.
We will have, yeah, we will, we'll all be
10?
retired by the
At
time.
8 to 10 though.
Minimum?
Yeah, minimum 8 to 10. Down here, real quick, is our garbage receptacle. So down the service drive, the garbage truck drive. So there's kind of a heavy traffic there, and a lot of times when we get deliveries of whether it's a semi or something like that, they're coming down that service drive and back again. So
Will we require any curbing or, I mean, stay the same? You're obviously not the lower part, you don't have.
The curbing and the curb and gutters all remaining the same. The maintenance staff is under Rich has done a really good job of patching up around the circle drive. You know, the concrete that did bust out. So we're just trying to do the asphalt this time. We did walk through it, and none of them really recommended that any of the curb or gutter had to be replaced. That was a huge relief to us. So,
you know, this is probably a pretty good representation how the majority of that area looks. Yeah.
I have a small car,
Yeah,
And so then later on, we do it.
like seal coating, seal
The
coating.
vines. That wouldn't be for these guys
No, yeah, we're right now we really don't have them striped out there.
Do the ground part.
Yeah, I don't think we have that in this bid, Mike. They're not doing any striping on this bid.
They're marking out just the handicap spots in the front on the circle drive.
Yeah.
They'll get, and then on the other side, right up here, there's another handicap spot. They'll get marked out.
Sure.
Right there. There's two handicap spots right here in the front that'll get marked out. And then they're also going to be putting, I believe there's one more over here at the no parking area. Right there, they're going to restripe that.
Just one more question on the line.
Mm-hmm.
No, how long would it take? How long would the parking lot be down? Right.
Yeah, good question. I mean, that's a good question. 3 days?
So
Should be able to strip it.
they have 1 month total. The goal was to have it done by June 16th. If I believe it's correct in the spec, and that is because that is when our day camp starts, and they use primarily drop off in the circle drive there.
Mm-hmm.
So
So that's the time he's wondering, how long is that going to be in disruption, basically? Like once they start digging up the.
they said 3 to 5 days,
Yeah.
depending on weather, of course. But their goal is to have everything milled out and excavated in 3 to 5 days with the backfill going in.
There'd be no way to get in, right? I mean, that's covering all your entrances.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like.
Yeah. It'll be done before concerts. But yeah, we'll have to work with them on traffic control. I mean, obviously there'll be plenty of ways to park, but
People can still park.
yeah.
And from this,
Yeah, so it'll be a little disruptive for no more than a
It's
week.
good for, I mean, it has to happen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing, it's a good price for them. You're gonna take care of your issue in the whole area for a long time.
Yeah, I thought that's fair. I mean, paving is very expensive now. The majority of it's oil in that product, and so prices got to be an expensive venture. We're also looking at probably in the fall, just as a kind of heads up, doing paving of the parking lot.
I'm ready to make a motion to approve Future Center Service Drive and Service.
Patriot Maintenance.
Future Meeting. For $139,000. Aye.
I,
Approval of the proposal for new. Okay, that one. Including the demo and install through the. Governmental purchasing cooperative as authorized by the others.
Yeah, so our LED sign that's out in front of this building is at least a dozen years old. It's got numerous issues, and obviously you're talking about technology that's, 12 years old is well beyond its useful life. Christine has done a lot of work to come up with and find a great vendor and solution. The vendor is part of a government purchasing cooperative, so we don't have to go through the bid process like we did with the asphalt. We're as part of that purchasing co-op, we're guaranteed that we're getting the lowest price for the services, whether it's the electrical, the masonry, everything that's required to install that sign. There is a revised proposal here, so from what's in your packet to what you have in front of you is an increase of $1,814. When they initially provided their proposal, they did not quote prevailing wage. So, as a government entity, we have to pay prevailing wage in the state of Illinois on new construction projects. So prevailing wage is effectively like for each trade there's a stated wage that has to be paid. Again, whether it's masonry, electrical, whatever it is.
We do not usually do this for groups like ours, and we can do
Yeah, you would. I mean, Kristen can speak more about it. She worked with them closely.
That was a question that I got asked when I met with them, and I think that our particular vendor, that we're working with on this, handles multiple different areas. So when we put together part of it per se, and honestly, they also said that they do that don't necessarily use preliminary wage. Factor for that.
other states.
Um,
Illinois is pretty strong.
It is, but perhaps they just said you'd be surprised by some different government agencies that don't necessarily factor that in. However, we do. So I asked them.
So we did budget 75,000 for this sign in the current fiscal year budget. The price came in at 78,861. Obviously, we're pretty close on these. Like as a little secret, early in the fiscal year because we're doing the homework like in March and April, and we're getting the numbers, and then we're plugging it in the budget. So stuff that we're doing like in May is because we've done the homework. Like in April and put it in the budget. So.
Okay, well then, I guess we're gonna make a motion.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the extra money for the 3,000 more?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a handful of items in that line item, and so that just means that if we had budgeted 50,000 for something else, we'll have to keep in mind that really we're only got about 52 now.
Okay.
Unless revenues come in better than expected.
What's the verbiage in number 16?
Yeah, I think if you could mention the. That's perfect.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the process for the LED information sign leisure center, including demo and install as well as intergovernmental purchasing cooperative as authorized by the Illinois Governmental Joint Purchasing Act. Visual for a cost of $78,861.54.
I have a question on the motion.
Mhm.
For the- Why this is approvable, the demo and install? What is the demo?
The demo of the existing sign that we have out there.
Okay, got it.
So we have an existing old sign out there, them taking that down.
Actual second.
Second that,
We
Just
was
have a
I
question.
was on a second.
So there's more discussion. Okay. So did we get a second on that motion?
Yes, yeah.
Now we're gonna go on to resolution.
We should call roll.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Carlson?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Brown? Resolution 920 to authorize interfund transfer at the fiscal year.
So real quick, if you scroll down, that's kind of the existing.
However,
Go ahead.
that's like the variance to that particular sign. Off to the right, the proposed sign, the brick that is landscaped around it, is going to be removed. Because you know this is not a managed brick structure. We went with this bricks because it matches. And we did consistent, but the bricks that are on the landscaping portion will be removed.
Remove the replace.
Perhaps we're working on what that's going to look like. That they're going to have to run some additional electric work to that sign in particular to operate the new screen. Because as you can see, there's quite a difference in the display.
Which one's the new one? We're gonna take out the gravestone part?
Yeah.
Just keep the, along the residential.
No,
We're gonna keep the other
we're
one.
going to keep the one on the right. Yep. And get rid of the one on the left.
Got a church sign like that.
I noticed that right here.
We only have a nice
What is that on the right?
To the right is a side profile. That's what it's gonna look like from this side.
But you got brick.
Yeah, it's just like the internal guts of it. Mm-hmm.
Remember you asked me.
It's called the brick face. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. I think it'll really
And
be well utilized.
in changing the landscaping around it, or are you gonna just like mulch it, or are you gonna grass it in, or are you gonna flower pot it in, or you know, plant flowers in it?
Yeah, I think that's too many determined once they grade it. Um, yeah, so it'll be.
Yeah, we'll definitely have some kind of landscaping,
Yeah,
something
but
kind
what
of.
was that looks like,
Yeah.
we'll work with Mike and coordinating that again, Rich.
Okay, so,
Yeah, yeah.
are we gonna authorize, are we not gonna make a motion to, pass a resolution to authorize inter fund transfers? Is there an amount to that?
Yeah, yeah, I have it up on the screen here. There are 4 transfers that I'm proposing. I'm happy to talk about the rationale or reason for each one. Starting again with start on the bottom row here, the easiest one, right? The recreation to the pool, $10,000. That again will meet our budgeted amount of the 130,000 for the year that we had allocated. We transferred 120,000. I believe the board approved that in like January, right? And then we have this extra 10,000. Let me just flip to, and it's easier when you see the cash position report because that's really what necessitates these transfers. Um, so the recreation fund currently has 822,000. It needs to transfer 10,000 down into the pool to make the pool full. Okay, so once that transfer is executed, which is effectively just accounting entries, to be honest, it's reallocating the cash from the recreation fund to the pool fund. Okay. The second transfer, um,
Around 400.
yes, it's all the money is not physically even moving it, honestly. So it's not leaving the park district. It's just reallocating it within different funds of. No, you can just approve resolution 920, the funds movement. Um, and this again is just the year-end funds movement based on where each fund's kind of cash position is landing coming into year-end. The general fund did have a good year, and its surplus is bigger than we anticipated. The general fund already has a pretty healthy cash balance, so my suggestion is we move 100,000 in the construction fund. That's just kind of like put it into our savings account for future capital projects, which is fortunate that we're able to do that. So that's just moving some money from general to construction. I'll skip down to the third one there, general fund to public liability. 50,000. That's because the public liability fund does not really have a very healthy surplus. And so with it having 50,000, it would just be a good idea to get that fund, which has annual expenditures of maybe close to 200,000. You can see its surplus is only 13,000. So to move 50,000 into there, it's not required. It's not necessary. We don't have to do it. I do think it would be a good idea to get that fund though in a more healthy fund balance position. Okay. Uh, So the general fund, when we're looking at its net surplus or deficit, the general fund has 220,000 of surplus for the year. We budgeted to be breaking even zero. That's why we have a little bit of option here on how to move that. So even if we moved 100,000 to construction and 50,000 to public liability, the general fund is still going to be adding a little bit of cash to its balance. And as I said, when you look at its cash position report, the general fund is finishing the fiscal year with about 1.4 million. So it does have a pretty healthy reserve. And so the last transfer is, I believe, is it 200,000 from Shepherd's Crook to Shiloh Golf Course?
Yes.
So again, as we constantly focus on everything that golf is doing, golf operations are paying for it. So this is moving money from one golf course to the other. So Shiloh Golf Course has an operating or deficit right now of 50,000. Plus, we have the golf carts to be delivered, which will probably come in about a month, which will need to be paid for. So, yeah, exactly. 138,000. Call it like 140 plus that 50 puts us at about 190 that the course is going to need. So if Shepherds can transfer 200 into Shiloh, we've recorded that expense. We have an outstanding payable. We haven't paid for the 138,000 yet because they haven't delivered the cards. But when they deliver the cards, we'll need to cut the check and the money's going to be.
Looking for a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 920, specifically with the intercompany transfers at the fiscal year end and stated in section 2 of the resolution.
Second. Aye.
That's it. I guess we're ready to run out of here. So can we adjourn this meeting? And I'll see everybody next month.
Motion?
Yeah, no motion to adjourn this meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Anybody want to second it?